Good evening, fellow Plexers. This video goes out to Be Easy Brandon, who posted a question in the Plex Media Server support group, and he wants to know about soundtrack albums and how to have them show up under a various artist section in a Plex Music movie library. And if you've never seen one of my videos before, I am not a professional YouTuber. I'm just a guy addicted to Plex who likes to help others get out of jams. So, I'm going to add these 8 soundtrack albums to a test Plex server, but first I'm going to pull them into MusicBrainz Picard. I've done other MusicBrainz Picard videos before, but nothing specifically about soundtracks. So I'm just dragging all the folders in, and with a Plex music library, with all the default settings, it depends on what the metadata is in each song with how Plex will scan it in. And Plex might find a database match and it might not. And when it doesn't find a good database match, your own metadata will help Plex determine how it comes in. So they're all in MusicBrainz Picard. And we found one album with complete metadata. So if I click on it, everything in the original value matches what MusicBrainz Picard would want to assign to it because I previously fixed this one up. So going back over to this side, let's cluster this into individual albums. And let me just work from the bottom up. I'm going to scan that and we'll apply all the correct metadata to it either manually or automatically. All right, so we've got one song left in this folder on this side. And over here, we've got 13 out of 15 songs and one song got in this wrong album. So if I expand it, you'll see that the dummy song belongs here. Well, I can just click and drag it here, or without even looking, I can just take a chance and drag the wrong album on top of the correct album. And now this says 0 out of 40. I can right click and get rid of it and expand this and it lined up. So I could just drag this over without looking at it on top of the album, or I could drag the song in where it belongs. And if every song is green, that tells you that every bit of metadata matches up. If it's yellow, MusicBrainz Picard thinks it has a match, but it gives you a chance to check. And lots of times, the runtime might be off by 3 or 4 seconds. And you'll see the original value, the track number is 03, the new value is 3. The title of the song, the artist, and the album's all the same, but the album artist here is various artists. So if it's here, that should be how it scans into Plex. So now that we've matched it up, I'm just going to highlight it and click Save. So let's do each of these individually. And I could highlight all of them and do it, but if you've got a few songs popping into other albums, it just makes it easier to do it one at a time. Okay, so The Graduate, we'll look at one song here. And you just see the album artist is Paul Simon, Simon and Garfunkel, and David Grusin. So it just gives it more robust metadata. So we'll click on the album and hit Save. I know this one's not going to scan in. There's nothing in the database. And I could highlight this. Control C for copy, escape to unselect it, and I could paste it up here and hit enter to go search for it manually. So this album has 22 tracks in it. And to just make things quicker, I'm going to sort by the track number and just look for something close with a few less or a few more. So this album's not in the database. So if I expand it, I can look at one song, and it does have a decent amount of metadata. So Plex will work off that to organize it as an album. And if I highlight the whole thing, you can see that there's already embedded metadata in all the songs that match up with the same artwork. And if I open it up and just click randomly, you'll see every song has that cover art embedded into it, which Plex will use. All right, let's do Pulp Fiction. We'll scan. All right, so we've got two different ones going on here. All right, we're down to 5 titles, 4, 3. All right, so 17 and 3 for 20. We've got 1 left. So these are 2 different albums, and it looks like it's the same thing. So it might be, let's see if we can find it here. It might be a different company or a different country. Let's see, USMC. Okay, release country US. If I look into this one, release country Australia. So I'm going to use the top one. So I'm going to drag that over here. Right click, I'll get rid of it. And then I have one more song to drag in. And that looks complete. We'll save that more robust metadata and you'll see how much more we have. And what is this? This is Easy Rider. So this metadata is kind of rotten. Let's see what MusicBrainz Picard finds. It was a good match right across the board. So we'll just take one individual song. They're yellow. And usually, again, that's because the length of the track isn't what's expected. 401 versus 402. But as long as everything else is the same. So this had a different name than this. It was Roger McGuinn, Ballad of Easy Rider, instead of just Easy Rider, like the database says. So we're just going to save all that good metadata. Got 2 more left. All right, so let's see what country this is from. Release country US. Oh, we've got 3 different ones going on. Release country DE. And release country AL. So I want to use the middle one. And I can just double check, and I can save all that good metadata and get rid of the 2 that we don't want. 1 left. It's kind of interesting how the amount of time for the album drops down. Okay, so we are incomplete, but not really. We have 2 versions of Lose Yourself. So if I look at that, the original metadata is instrumental, which matches up here. So I can just drag that down to fix it, and now we're complete. So I'll save it, and in case I miss something, I'll save all of them all at once. So out of 7 albums, we've got beautiful metadata. All right, out of 8 albums, we have beautiful metadata on 7 of them. Oh, this is what I wanted to show too. Let me bring MusicBrainz Picard back up. So unlike a movie or a TV show library where you want really good structure and great file names, which I use FileBot for, I'm just going to drag this in. And it doesn't really matter how it's named or how anything else is named, because Plex is going to scan this based on the embedded metadata if you use default settings for a music library. So if I wanted to, I could change this to just the sound of the album The Graduate, the original soundtrack recording. I could name it that instead with 1968. So why don't I just do one? I'm going to copy the name of the album, and I can remove it. Rename 1968. Got to get rid of the colon. That's an illegal character. So that's more work than I want to do, but you might want to do that just to neaten things up. But again, you don't have to. It won't matter. All right, so let's take all these and let's copy them, and I'm going to put them on my older Synology NAS where I have a test Plex install running. So it's only 1.7 gigs worth of files, and my Cat6 infrastructure will copy it over fast. Okay, let's bring Plex in. I'm in the settings under Manage Libraries, and I'll add a new music library. Let's call it Soundtracks. Next, I'll point to the folder. Then I'll go into Advanced. I have nothing to do with Apple computers or iTunes, so I don't even know what this does. You always want to use the default scanner and agents, unless you have a real reason to move away from those with any Plex library type. I'm not going to bother with sonic analysis. I do on my main server. And I'm not going to check prefer local metadata because I want Plex to make matches to the online sources if it can. If it can't, it will use the local metadata. And I do not want to store the track progress, but if you're doing an audiobook collection, you would want to do that on that library. So really, that's all you have to do. I leave everything default. Add library. We'll go into it and we'll watch what happens. Now, even though there's nothing about John Travolta in the metadata for this, this is how the database matches it up. This is what Plex does. And you'll see I'm coming in with a bunch of various artist ones. And this came in under, I don't know, maybe the musical conductor, director of that film. And The Graduate came in under Paul Simon. So most of them were various artists. But you can bend Plex to your will. So if you go in and edit it, you just see it's various artists. So I'm just going to copy that. And before I do, let's go to library mode. So I've got the various artists with the soundtracks here. And I've got John Travolta here. So let's click into him as the artist. Go into the album. And change the artist to various artists. Save the changes. It disappears. And... well, where is it? Did I really screw up? Let's refresh. Okay, so it's under various artists there. Let's see. Oh yeah, I must not have seen it, or maybe the refresh brought it back. So you can bend Plex to your will. So let's do the other ones. Hold on. I gotta make sure I do it under the actual album and not the artist. And you can tell me whether I screwed up with the Grease soundtrack. let's refresh. And everything showed up, and let's see. Let's see if I did this the wrong way. No, I think I did it the right way. So we just bent Plex to our will. I made the ones that weren't a various artist manually. And if we go back to if I go back to what's locally on my hard drive and add it to MusicBrainz Picard again, let's use the Grease one for example. So I could have probably scanned this in by making the change here. And let's do that. Let's remove this from the library. And let's rescan. Okay, so we lost the Grease soundtrack album. Go back to here, and I'm going to change the artist to various artists across everything, and we'll save that. Now let me just drop that out and pull it back in. Okay, it didn't stick. Okay, so that's going to be the rub. If I change it to a various artist, all right, that's what I'm doing wrong. I don't want to do that. I want to change the album artist to various artist. All right, let's remove that. And now see if those changes stuck. Okay, yeah, so it's stuck over on this side. This is just how I want it. So, album artist, not the individual artist. So we can close MusicBrainz Picard down. And now I'll copy this back to the Synology NAS. And we'll rescan again. And see if it pops up under this artist heading. No, I don't think so. Yeah, so even changing that metadata, Plex decided to match it based on a database match. Well, it looks like it's not there fully. So we lost part of it with that little transition. So I would just leave it alone. Making sure I'm in the right spot. I would just leave it alone with its regular metadata. Now let's rescan this again to get rid of that. And we'll put it back to its original shape. Oh, I'm in the wrong section. All right, so I'll save the good metadata. Double check to make sure it comes in that way now. Okay, so the album artist is back to John Travolta and Olivia Newton-John. So now if I put it back in my actual Plex library and scan again. So I'm afraid for the stragglers, you want to go to the album and apply the artist as various artists manually. That'll work best. So a lot of them are going to come in just with the right metadata, and a few you'll have to finesse inside of Plex is the best way to do it. If I was doing a true compilation album, if I grabbed songs from 20 or 30 different artists and mixed them together in my own mixtape, because there's no chance of that matching to a existing database item, the previous trick of doing an album artist for various artists would work. And I think on the channel there's a compilation MusicBrainz Picard video to look at for that. So anyway, I hope this helps Be Easy Brandon to get his Plex server bent to the will that he wants it to bend to. Thanks for watching.